Yeah, once again, welcome to the Linux administration session. So this is the batch 248. So Karthik here, and this would be a weekend batch, by the way. So yeah, and please do reach out to the support mail if you have any queries related to notes, recording, or any portal issue or any issue. You can reach out to this mail ID. So don't worry, or you need not even note down this mail ID. So this demo, this slides will be sent to you for the day. Okay. So anyhow, and it will be available in the recording as well. So you can get it. So this is the like the timings and course. The duration will be of around 4 weeks, and it's not the exact 4 weeks it will be. So it will be. It depends on how many doubts you guys ask. So mostly, at least it will be 4 weeks, and it can extend till 5 or even 6 weeks. Depends on how many doubts you ask. But like the total hours is the main thing. So yeah, at least it will be of 20 hours. The sessions will be. So yeah, and you can reach out to these numbers. Okay, so please do reach out to these numbers if you have any doubts or anything like related to the payment or portal, any issues. And please do drop an email to this one if you have any technical doubts related to Linux. It can be of anything, so don't be shy. You can ask any silly doubt to any complex doubt. We will be assisting you. Okay, and please do join this link. So let me one sec. Let me send this link in the chat so that yeah, so I did send it in the chat. So you can, so click on join. Second, the screen is visible. Yeah, so just click on join. It would be redirecting you to the group. Okay, so why we need a WhatsApp group in the sense, any update related to the course or my availability, anything and everything will be shared in only through that WhatsApp group. So please do join if you are not in already. So yeah, and please do share it with your friends or colleagues and all. Okay, and we are using a Graphy portal. So yeah, any recordings, and it is a lifetime recording, guys. Okay, and so there is no batch shifting, and the first two sessions means today and tomorrow session will be an demo session, and from the third session it will be a paid one only, and only for the paid candidates it will be uh, like they can only view the new Zoom link will be sent only to them, and the support team availability will be from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So you can reach out to any doubts, anything related to the technical or any portal issue, do only during this time, like from Monday to Saturday. Okay, so yeah, and little bit about myself. So Karthik here. So I am a RHCSA and RHCE certified in few more. RHCSA already certified. RHCE about up here, and I handle more than at least 7,000 servers will be there. In my there is two companies I've been working. So yeah, it's been more than 10,000 servers I worked. So yeah, and currently working as a platform engineer in an MNC. So that's it about myself. And I've been in the Logic Labs for around 1.3 years. So, yeah. And let's right away go to the topics. Like, first thing is what is Linux and why it's still relevant in IT, right? So that should be your very important and the most asked question, or you must have this question in the mind, right? Why? Because Linux, since many of us are tuned or get used to Windows, the any other alternative sounds bit foreign to us, right? So that's the reason why Linux and why companies prefer Linux. That's the main question you should ask. So first thing is why or what is Linux? So Linux is a open source operating system. So what is the open source here? We'll see it in detail. So first thing, let me type the rivalry of Linux, which is Windows and Mac. And do keep in mind that Mac is also based on Linux. So we can remove that. So only Linux and Windows are the different, the almost same. So the way they approach the issues or any instruction set is different. Okay, so that's where these two differs. And the main thing is it is a closed source environment, or it is a closed operating system. Means you can't, obviously you can change few of the options, but simply you can't rename the settings. And you can actually in Linux, almost everything is customizable, and that's the good thing. And it also has a downside. We will see that in a moment. But the point is, you can't edit any of these settings, and so, right? So means right away you can't remove a settings, or you can't add a settings like that. Okay, so just taking time. So that's the thing. And why companies prefer Linux is the main usages. There are two ways of interfaces, which is ways of interface. GUI, which is graphical user interface. Actually, there is three. We will see the third one while we see in the next session or in the third session. Okay. CLI is command line interface. And the last one, it will be TUI, which is text based user interface. Okay. So first thing is, what is GUI? So GUI is the one which you are seeing right now, which is like there are icons, and there are so you're navigating and you're accessing those or clicking the icon using the cursor. So you're using a graphical element, and there are icons, right? So that is also including a graphical element. So that's what GUI means, and we are already used to GUI, and it is one of the easiest user interface, right? So, and what about CLI? So CLI, if you open command prompt, so this is the CLI. Even though here you can see the cursor, but you can't. Okay, let me type a command. So this command will list all the files and directories in this path, right? But you can't double click and go inside that. That's not possible. Only you can go through CD command or change directory command. So the point is, you can navigate only through commands. So that's the reason it's called as command line interface, right? So the last one is TUI. So we will see the TUI later. Okay. So these are all the ways of interaction, sorry, interfaces. And the mainly the, again, the interaction also, because here you have a term called as shell, and we will see extensively what is shell in the next session. So yeah. So firstly, why Linux has been preferred in the companies are most of the companies, and trust me, CLI is far more optimized and better when it comes to enterprise or companies. Okay, so means if you want to do multitasking, or if you want to do a repetitive task again and again, or if you want to do a toil, it's easy actually comparatively. In order to, like, let's say you want to create 100 files in GUI, also you can do, but it will take a lot of time, right? So again and again you need to create the same name, or there is a bit issues there. But whereas in CLI you can do a regular expression, and like you can take advantage of the wildcard character or wildcard operator, right? So like that, there are many advantages. I just given a basic difference or advantage. So CLI is far more superior when it comes to enterprise, especially. So that's the main reason Linux is still alive, and it's again optimized for your resources. So what is resources in this case is, these are all the resources of the devices, or let me call it as servers or system. So moving forward, I will call server sometimes or system. Both are same. Okay. So what is resource? Your CPU, memory or RAM, and your GPU, and the most important is your disk, also your network. So all these five entities cumulatively are your resources. And why it is the most important when it's come to enterprise, right? So that's this is what is called as infra layer or infrastructure. So for a building, the infrastructure would be the um, the actual building itself, right? So the ceiling, the floor, everything is is considered. Whereas here, the infra itself is your physical CPU, memory, GPU, disk, and network. And many have or many think that okay, many have an idea about cloud. That okay, cloud is it is like some server, right? So that is true, but it is located somewhere, right? So we ourselves don't know. So let's say, let me give an AWS example. So AWS, the default location will be North Virginia. Okay, so in North Virginia, there are at least 5 to 10 data centers are there for AWS. Okay, so we don't know where does that server is located. So the point is, you're sharing his infrastructure, means the Amazon's infrastructure you are using for some hours. So, and you are paying for it. So that's the reason it is pay per hour. So like, so that's the reason the payment method for that one will be pay per hour, right? So that's what the infrastructure is. So moving forward, you will see what is infrastructure in detail. So as of now, these are all the key points in your infra. And yeah, and the next thing is why it's still relevant. So that's the important one, right? Because Linux has been around for so many years. So let me just, yeah, this one. And the guy who firstly he who coined and who created the, so there is a Unix based, actually Linux is a Unix based operating system. Okay, so there is a concept called as Unix, which is a machine language again, and it is a again it is a very old operating system. Okay, so Linux is, and there is a Minix is there. So many are there. Okay, so Linux was there, and Debian is there. So many variants are there. But why Linux is? It's far more easy to port. Port in the sense, easily you can create your own version of Linux. So that's bit interesting, right? So because till now we are used to this Windows layout, or we need support or anything, we will reach out to the Microsoft only or their knowledge base. But here we can create our own customized or tailored experience for our needs. So simply I can disable a Bluetooth driver. Let's say, for example, I can disable a settings or Bluetooth driver if I don't need it, right? So, and it like that will increase the performance, and it will, that's what, like the efficiently it will be handling the infrastructure. So there are many benefits in Linux. Again, moving forward, one by one, we'll see in the sessions. And that's also the main reason why Linux is still being used. And this is the actual kernel. So this guy coded the kernel. His name is Linus Torvalds. So he's the first person, or he's the one who, like, first contributor. And you see there is around almost 15,000 contributors for this one. And it is the most contributed code in the whole GitHub actually. Okay, and yeah, it's the most important one. And the kernel is like a heart of the server or the system. Okay, so we will see in detail in next session what is kernel and all. So let's see what is the, like, our learning path. Okay, so first thing, and this is important for any server or any operating system, is user management. So, and many do avoid user management, means many companies take it as granted that, okay, user management. So it again creates a toil to again manage it in a not an efficient way. So we will see or we will discuss extensively what is user management and how to manage it effectively. And what is disk management? Again, as a end user, you might not. Okay, let me open the disk management of my laptop. So you see, I have only one disk and two partitions only I have. So the point is, actually, we are not using it in an effective way. You see, there is some unallocated space is also there. So that this space is like waste of size, or you can't do anything with this unallocated space, right? So until it is allocated or extended to this one, you can't, there is a wastage of disk. You're getting the point, right? So as an end user, we take these as granted, but as an enterprise, each and every single MB to a single gig, it matters because they're paying a lot of money for a data, and to store a data is also a key thing. So that's the main thing that as a sysadmin you should understand, and how optimal you need to allocate the disks, right? So that's very, very important, this one also. And next one is your process management. Again, as a sysadmin, what are all the process which is going through your mission and the missions you admin, right? So like again, we are not talking in a volume of 10 or 20 servers. At least in an enterprise, there will be 3,000 plus servers, minimum of, right? So even a startup or mid-level, at least they're having 5,000 plus servers. So you're not going to encounter a very small number of servers. It's a huge one, and net it's an important thing to understand what is process management. And again, all the 5 topics are important, and our course will revolve around all these. So don't worry too much. So we'll go step by step and from the basics. So again, let me finish this one and the syllabus, and we'll see the question part. Okay. So the next one will be your server troubleshooting. So what is troubleshooting? You're going to solve a issue or a problem, and you are yet to identify whether it is a hardware or a software issue. That's the second thing you need to understand. Okay, whether it is a hardware or software, and whether it is a repetitive issue or a new one. And if it is a new one, whether there is a knowledge base already created for that issue, right? So if it is already there in your enterprise, or if it is in your let's say client side, right? So the point is, you are, as a sysadmin, you should be a problem solver. So, and you should avoid the problem arising in the next time. So you should provide a root cause also. So why we are doing a root cause analysis? So means you should provide a solution so that in the next or upcoming days, the same server, if it is having that same issue, then the RCA which you provided is not efficient, because again the same issue is occurring, right? So that should not be the case, like over the long run. So it is not an effective way of administrating a server. And lastly is basic networking. And why I mentioned as basic is, as you guys already know, that networking itself is a separate subject, right? So we won't see a lot of networking. So only networking which is required for a sysadmin, and how to configure it in a server, like allocating the IP as a static IP, and like adding a host entries and routes. So this firewall, so these kind of networking stuff related to the servers, right? So not all the networking topics. So that's hence I mentioned as basic networking. So the next thing is RHCSA. So that's the most important thing in our courses. We are going to see the basics, as well as we are going to appear to an exam, which is Red Hat Enterprise system administrator, right? So means RHCSA. Okay, so Red Hat Enterprise Certified System Administrator. So what is Red Hat now? So as of now, we saw Linux, and I told that you can create your own version of Linux. So now is where your Red Hat comes in. So this is a company which has been there for at least like from 1999, which is around almost 23 years, right? So sorry, more than that, more than 23 years. So what are all, or first thing, this company is owned by IBM now. So it's been like 3 years, IBM acquired Red Hat, and they are having a lot of products under their shelf, right? So means the Ansible or automation, you might have heard Ansible, right? So it is Red Hat is the one who owns that. So like that, they have OpenShift under their belt, and so many are there, right? So you see this one, and let me give this link also in the chat, right? So and why Red Hat? And why again they are the market leaders. So that's the reason I added this in the certification, and they have their own credibility. So if you are a RHCSA certified, you have a wide chance that you will be at least considered for the interviews. And if you have this in your portfolio or your resume, it's a good thing actually, because you are showing an accomplishment that okay, I know the basic and intermediate level, almost intermediate level, because it is an entry level certification. Okay, so that's the RHCSA, and it is a paid certificate as well. So we will see that in a moment. But that's what a little bit background about our Red Hat, and why they are reliable is they're the uh, the most unique selling point for Red Hat is their support. Okay, so they have an awesome support team which is supporting a lot of issues. And trust me, since it is an open source, there will be a lot of issues for that operating system, right? So they have and they support, you see, so many, uh, like especially your RHEL 8 or RHEL 9. So those kind of operating systems they support, and that's the main reason they are still being considered in most of the companies. You might encounter RHCS, sorry, Red Hat, or there are counterparts for Red Hat or Linux. So you have, so you just search for Linux distros in Google, and so you can ignore these images. So you have a link called as Distro Watch. Okay, so if you go here, this site is dedicated for for the list of distributions of the Linux operating system. So these are all the operating system which is the core is Linux, but they have their own user interfaces or their own flavor of kernel. So many things. Okay, so Pop OS. So if you see this one, this is a like almost like a Windows. It will be okay, and it is kind of like a Windows and Ubuntu. So many might already know Ubuntu, right? So most of the laptops nowadays is bundled with Ubuntu since it is a freeware. So yeah, so this is also a version of Linux. So many are there. Okay, so some are based on Debian, and we have Alpine, Peppermint. So many are there. So let me give this link also in the chat so that in your free time, please do check this distro watch and just Google this Linux distros in you just search for it and you will land in this page, and it's an interesting one so that you will get an idea that there is at least a 900 plus distros are there. Okay, and so these are all the famous one. So there is a list of like for past 6 months, which is the famous one like that. So yeah, and there is a Kali Linux. So this is for your this is a Debian based. Okay, so this is mostly used for penetration testing and those kind of security stuff. Okay, so coming back to RHCSA, let me show you the. EX200. Yeah, so this is the exam landing page. So if you go to the objectives, so this is the syllabus which I prepared. So if you see these syllabus, so anyhow I'll explain all these. So if you see this syllabus, it is based on your objectives of your this certificate only. So that's the reason. Once you are done with our sessions, and if you are fine with it, you can go ahead and register for the exam, and please do attend the exam. Okay, so I highly recommend you to approach this or attend this exam. Why? Because it has its own credibility, and yeah, that's the main thing. And our course is also designed based on this, because almost everything will be covered in this objectives. So anyhow, we will see the syllabus. Both are almost same. Okay. So the first thing is the introduction. So introduction to our RHEL operating system, and it is a Red Hat Enterprise Linux. It is 8 I mentioned. So it will be like 8 or 9. It can be either 8 if you can use, or 9. So the 9.3 is the latest one. So anyhow, the commands or the almost every concept is same. RHEL 7 is a different one. So we will see in later sessions what is the difference between RHEL 7 and 8 or 9, right? So those kind of things later we'll see. And as I told, it is a CLI based operating system. Obviously, GUI is also there. Don't think that, okay, we don't have a GUI in Linux. Obviously, there is GUI, but CLI is a preferred one in enterprise, especially. Okay, so that's the reason you have a lot of commands, and it's around 2000 commands are there, right? So don't be overwhelmed that, okay, there is a lot to remember. So trust me, no one in the industry for past, even if he is part of the same company for 15 years or 20 years, no one can remember so many commands, right? So uh, over the period of time, you must understand and you will implement a lot of things or a lot of commands in an innovative way. But trust me, no one will remember all those commands. So at least 100 to 200 commands is sufficient and relevant for your day-to-day usage in your Linux. Okay. And the next one will be, and in the next session, we'll be doing this one, that we'll install in the VMware workstation as well as in any one of the cloud service provider. I just mentioned as AWS here. So we will see how to install it in AWS and GCP. So I don't recommend Azure as of now, because for Azure, actually, you need to pay if you are not a student. So if it is a student account, you can ignore, because you will get $100 coupon. Whereas if you are not a student, you need to pay for the trial version. So which is not recommended, especially for a lab session, right? So, and it is, again, I sorry, I forgot to mention that it is a practical based exam. Means there is no MCQ. Anyhow, I'll show you a sample question paper. There will be no MCQ. All will be a practical one. Means if you forget a command and if you don't answer that, some some questions are so important that the rest of the questions depends on that, right? So if you forget that, let's say network configuration, you can't even proceed further with the exam, as without connecting to the network, you can't do anything, right? So that's how important, and that's the main reason it has its own credibility. Okay. And the next one is your performance monitoring. So what is performance monitoring? It's the same thing like your task manager. So what is task manager doing? It is monitoring your resources in real time, right? So that's the important thing. In real time, they are seeing, like we can monitor all these 5 entities or 5 resources like CPU, memory, GPU, disk, and network. And this is good, but this is a single machine or single system. So you should have a monitoring solution so that you can monitor at the time thousands of servers. So you have monitoring tools. So there are many tools in the market. So there are again a freeware as well as paid and enterprise grade tools. So the most used in the enterprise are Dynatrace and Grafana, ELK Stack, and New Relic. So the list goes on actually. So again, for the people who wondering, okay, is there any DevOps involved in our sessions? So this is what like I will try to show you at the last session, like how to integrate the monitoring to the our server. Okay, so because trust me, there won't be a server which is like which don't have a dashboard in it, right? Or like at least it should be monitored, right? So without monitoring, you can't understand or identify if there is any spike in the CPU or memory. Let's say in this case, in mine, it's fine. But let's say if I opened a Chrome tab or any let's say I opened 50 plus tabs, right? So obviously there will be a spike in my memory and CPU, right? So like that, you should monitor each and every metrics, and it's very important, especially for enterprise. So because performance is the key which they expect. And the next one is your user management. As I told, we'll be doing the user manipulation, like create, delete, modify, or doing whatever we want with the users. And we'll be seeing how, let's say you create a user, what are all the files affected based on that single command, right? So all these we will be seeing in this one. And again, like how to change a password, all these are basic things, which is an important, especially for any operating system. These knowledge is very, very important. And the group management. So that is what uh, many companies do. So we will see what is group management, right? And the most interesting one is your pseudoverse. Okay, so in my next batch, actually after this session, in today's session, I'll be teaching the pseudoverse only. So it is an interesting one actually. So a bit different compared to your Windows or any other operating systems user management, but yeah. So the next one is your basic OS concepts. So again, the essential commands and how to manipulate each and every command, right? So not every command, all the essential commands. So we will see that. And using grep means to how to search for a specific text in a text editor or a very, let's say, log file, right? So we will be encountering a lot of log files. I will explain what is log in a moment and how to access your server. So again, you are accessing, as I told, a server which is located in some random region, right? Or some data center. So you should be in a position to, let's say you should be accessing via remote, right? So remote connection, and we'll configure those things, okay? And how to archive. So these are all the important one, especially for enterprise. Means you will be encountering a lot of data and it will be piled up easily, right? So let's say you are running a application for running an application, let's say for 1 month, the log itself will be around some, let's say 10 gigs, right? So that is a huge amount just for logs, and it is a past log. Means you won't again go back to that same log in like let's say in another 1 week. So that log is needed, but not right away. So in that case, you should store it somewhere, and it is an important log also. So you should store it in a separate server dedicated only for archiving, and it should be a very low cost data storage method, right? So like some tape drives or some old hard disk. So like that, it will be stored. So and yeah, so that's what called as archiving. So we'll see these all in details. And again, how to do the file manipulation, how the permissions works. Very, very important one, because permissions we take it granted in our Windows, whereas in Linux, permissions are the most important knowledge you should have, because you can easily avoid a user to access your file, or provide a user or provision a user to access only that file. So that is a difference, right? So yeah, that those things you can do, and hard link, soft link, and those things. So moving on, the sysadmin activities means so then in next session you'll see the booting procedure. Okay, so with that knowledge, you can easily understand what is happening once you press the power button, right? So the booting, how to change the targets of your system and how to interrupt it, very important. Like let's say if your system is turning on and it is stuck somewhere, you should be in a position to diagnose it, right? So in order to understand that, you should know the procedure, like what and all happening in the backend for the next 5 minutes while the system is turning on, because you will only see the loading screen, but there is a lot happening in the background which you won't see as an end user, right? So when it comes to, or when you wear a sysadmin hat, you should understand that for sure. So the next one is here, how to identify the CPU or memory intensive processor, kill it. Means, as I told, let's say there is a spike in your any metrics, right? So there, let's say there is a spike in CPU. I should understand, or I should be in a position to get, okay, there is a spike in the, let's say this Google Chrome application is the one causing the spike in the memory, right? So I should identify that and kill it. So similarly, we will do that in our server, and there is a command for that as well. So we'll see how to do those things, and the tuning profiles. And this is not a very important topic per se. So anyhow, we'll do OS optimization and OS tuning rather than relying on the profile. But anyhow, we'll cover this one. And the next one is here, as I told, system log files and journals. So there are, as like you will encounter a lot of application files. Okay, so each and every application will lay a trial, and means trial in the sense there will be a lot of logs generated for each and every second, right? So those logs will be stored, and it isn't, there are so many types of logs also. Let me quickly show you, type you that. So there is system log, application log. Obviously, your team or you won't be the sole responsible for all these logs, but as a sysadmin, you will have access to almost every logs. Okay, so that's the thing. And hardware log, and your secure log. So like that, so many logs are there. So event log, and the list goes on. So the point is, you should be in a position to locate the specific logs, right? So there will be a lot of, let's say, scheduler are running. Okay, scheduler in the sense there is a automated task. Okay, so it means at specific time, one of a Chrome tab should open. So that is a task, and that task is being executed, but again and again the same task has been executing with an interval of 5 minutes. So that is an automation, right? So you should be in a position to fetch each and every log for each session. So we will see how to locate that, and it is an interesting session. It will be so this one, and yeah, how to preserve the system journals. So journal log also, and how to check the status of each and every service in your system, right? And how to transfer your files between each and every server. Like there are three methods. We will see all these three methods. And next thing is your disk management. So disk management, the main concept or the first thing you see here is LVM. Full form is logical volume management, and it is again an important topic. And you have the same concept in your Windows as well, but it's not that optimal. Okay, so how to logically create a partition and manage it. Okay, so we'll see that. And again, like how to create a logical volume, delete, modify, like resize it, everything will be performing in it, right? So, and how to mount it, unmount, change the format, extend, and even lastly, we can delete also. And Stratus and video is like a advanced version of your LVM. So we will see those two also. And you can expect either one of them in the exam. So we'll see that in a moment, the exam, sample exam question paper. And so that's what, like, yeah, you might think, okay, disk management is bit less, but this is a huge topic actually. We will take, depends on how many doubts you ask. At least 2 sessions, it will be like around 3 to 4 hours. You'll see only disk management. Okay, so it's so many concepts are there. You should understand all that, right? So the next one is your security part, and this is where your types of authentication comes in, like how secure your system is and why security matters in an enterprise, right? So you have different ways of authentication. The first is your password base, which we are already familiar with and currently using in our day-to-day usage, but we are a bit foreign for the passwordless, right? So what is passwordless? Like a key-based authentication. And key-based also, there are two types, like one is a software and hardware key. So yeah, we will see those things, right? So how a key-based authentication works in a SSH. So SSH means secure shell, and this is the protocol which we will use to log into the server. Okay, so we will see extensively what is SSH, what is key-based authentication and all. And the next thing is your firewall. So firewall again, so there are two types of firewall. One is in your network layer and another one will be in your OS layer. So we will see the OS or application layer. So we will see here what is the firewall and how to configure it and how to uh, like add it or remove it, right? So all those we'll see, and how the file permissions, how to manipulate your file permissions so that a user can only log into the server and go to a specific path. Only that path he can access in the whole server, right? So all those we can set it. And this kind of customization you can do in Windows, but it is a bit tricky and bit complex it is comparatively. So yeah. And there is another concept called as SE Linux. So we'll see this SE Linux, what is so means it is nothing but you have one more layer of protection for each and every file and directory of your server. So each and every file has been protected, and trust me, that's a good thing like comparatively, right? So you will see that. And how to restrict a user with set of specific set of commands. Like you can create a shell so that only certain commands he can execute. Let's say he's around more than 2000 commands are there, as I told, right? So you can allow him to do only 20 commands, right? So which is only relevant or which only his team should do, like that. You can restrict that also. So it is that much customizable. Your Red Hat or Linux in general. Okay, so the next one is, as I told, how to the next one is your networking and how to configure your static IP, the host name, and let's say you are having any issues with the networking services, how to restart it and how to check the logs for it. So those things we will see. And lastly, we will see the containers. So containers, many might have came across this term called as container, which is actually before, like let's say more than 5 years ago, no one, many that was not adopted containers, but nowadays most companies adopted and using it optimally. So many might have heard Docker, right? So Docker or Kubernetes. So these are all container solution for um, so like for the DevOps methodology, right? So And Red Hat has their own container solution, which is called as Podman, which is almost like, trust me, the commands are almost same. Okay, so if you know Podman, easily you can, like how to say, easily you can confirm to the interviewer that you know Docker also, or if you vice versa, if you know Docker, easily you can understand Podman. Okay, so we'll see how the Podman works, and there is an exam question for container also, so we'll see that. Okay, so that's what, like creating a startup process with container from a user account. So that's the issue, like from a user account in the sense you should modify some securities, and we'll see that. And lastly is your VMware vSphere. So the VMware which we are going to use is called as VMware Workstation, which is good and enough for a end user. But VMware vSphere is what being used in your work environment, and there is a lot of tools, and like some features are uh, like only specific for vSphere. So I will try to show you that, because this is a system, sorry, this will be working only in certain laptop configuration, and almost any computers, means PC, it will work. And if you're already having a data center in your like lab setup, or if you are having a RDP session, which is good, and you can try vSphere, installing vSphere, because it does require some hardware requirement is there. So only in specific hardware it will work. Okay, so most of the laptops, it won't, after installation it won't run. It will throw some error. So in my machine it is working, means not in my laptop. In my computer it is working. So I will try to show you what is vSphere at the last sessions. Okay, so yeah. So is there any doubts till now? Like, but before that, let me just, so what and all the job roles you're eligible once you're done with the session. So the first one is obviously Linux sysadmin, and the next one is your system engineer. So who can be or who is eligible for a system engineer is, right away you can't. First thing, let me confirm you that. But once you practice, and once you are like at least for 1 month or so, minimum of 1 month, you should practice Linux, and then you can see the job description for some companies, like what is the exact thing they are looking for. So with that, you can apply for system engineer role also, because you need to do some more investigation, which is like most of the companies right away, they don't expect you. If you're a fresher, they won't expect you for sure. But if you're having that knowledge or interest in that, trust me, you will go places, right? So the point is, uh, like you should understand a simple task also, you should understand and put your effort, right? So that is your system engineer. And in the learning path, so after these two, you have DevOps engineer. So for DevOps engineer and SRE, which is site reliability engineer. So these two are, so SRE is like position which is more than DevOps, because they need to make sure the reliability factor also of that application, right? So, or the like the pipelines. So that's what, like as a DevOps engineer, you have a lot of tools to consider. But if you have a Linux knowledge, it will be easy for you to understand, because most of the let me show you this image. So most of the DevOps tools, right? So if you see this one, all will be using the CLI version only. So yeah, this one. So almost 70% of this image, or the, oh, sorry. So 70% of the tools which you see here uses CLI version, right? So And if you are familiar with the commands or how the commands works in general, easily you can approach this. So you won't be scared that okay, it is a new tool, because that's in your learning path. So once you're done, you can stay in Linux admin for the next 20 years also, 20 years also, because I have many seniors who has been in Linux for 20 years already. Still, Linux won't go anywhere. So don't be afraid that, okay, there is a job security and all. But the point is, DevOps should be your next like milestone, right? So once you're done, or once you understand how Linux works, because no one can say that, even he's been experienced for quite some years, he can't say that, okay, I know Linux fully. No one can say that, because it is a whole operating system. Lot of people are contributing to that. So no one can tell that, okay, they know fully. So the point is, next thing is like you should understand how DevOps works. And almost every company already migrated to DevOps or in the migration phase. So you should search for the companies which is already migrated, or if it is in a migrating phase, that is well and good. From the base or from the early stages, you will be the one working in that DevOps lifecycle. So that's what. And the same thing goes for your SRE. But like if you're already experienced, then SRE will be the go-to role or position, because for SRE as a fresher, no, like 99% of the companies don't consider, because you are new to an enterprise solution or enterprise concept itself. So you can't like give a reliability like you can't really give a reliability, right? So as a fresher, so yeah, at least 3+ years you should have experience for SRE, but you can or you are eligible for a junior DevOps engineer, but you should prepare for it. So that's what. So yeah, is there any doubts till now in the like syllabus part or anything to tell me? So once again, it is not a free session. It is a paid one, and the course fees is around 4,150, including GST it is. And once you are done with the sessions, there will be a certificate provided, and it will be sent as a um, in through mail. Okay, and yeah. So let me quickly give the this one courses. So I already have a batch running. So and for the people who are having hard time with the timings, right? So if you can't join at the exact 4 p.m. or if you're having some time constraints during the weekends, so no worries, you can opt for the recordings, right? So yeah, one sec, let me show you that. Yeah, so it is the same one only, means the all the syllabus part or everything is the same. Only that you will have in a recording, and it is for the lifetime. Okay, so yeah, so let me give this in the chat, and this is the link. You just click on this link and click on buy course, and you should create a login, and once done, you can you will be opted for this course. Okay, and you can go to the Logic Labs YouTube channel also, and see the previous recordings. So this is my previous batch demo session recording, so you can watch that here. Okay, so yeah, is there any doubts, anyone? And as Rama asked, actually, yeah, if you have any doubts or if you want me to explain it in Tamil, so you just drop an email to that support mail. So let me give that. So right. So you can drop an email to that. I will try to explain that issue or concept. And we will in next session we will do the installation part. Means we will install it in our VMware as well as um, the cloud like GCP or AWS. So yeah, is there any doubts anyone or so tomorrow also the session will be at the same time. So in tomorrow's session before joining the session, so please let me give you the this link. So just type bit.ly/linuxll. So let me send it in the chat. So this is a link. This is a link shortener, by the way. So you just go here and all the resources for our course will be shared here. Okay, so just a second. Guys. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Rama, the certificate will be provided for the recording videos also. So you just reach out to that mail ID once you are done with the sessions, right? So it will be provided. Okay. And one sec, let me. Yeah. So once you're going to that link bit.ly/linuxll, this will be the drive link. Okay. So here you just go to this ISO and VMware directory and download. One second, let me close this one. Yeah. So download the last two files, which is VMware Workstation Pro .16.2.exe, which is the VMware tool, and the RHEL 8.4 ISO, which is your operating system. So why these two files are? So we need these two files for the next session or the whole course. So please do download this one. And if you're having some issue like means if you can't down this file itself is like a 9.43 gigs, right? So let's say you are not having a stable internet. So you can use this torrent. So you just go to uTorrent and click on this free download and click on this download now. So let me actually I can't upload this. It will throw some error in the drive. So just yeah, you can use this one. And for Mac, actually, you can open the torrent right away. Inbuilt, there is a tool. So you can use either torrent or your ISO. So like right click, download. Okay. So, and please don't download by selecting all because if you do that, you see, it will be creating a zip. Then it will be downloaded. So it is like a huge file, right? So it will take a lot of time. So please don't do that. So download separately. And once you're done, yeah. So and if you're done, which is good because tomorrow anyhow, I'll show you how to install. And if you're already interested to create your lab, you have the instruction here, ISO installation, right? So with the screenshots and the steps is provided, and how to install in the GCP also, and how the VMware installation works. Okay, so anyhow, we'll see this one in the next session. But yeah, if you're a bit interested, you can follow this guide. So it is an extensive guide how to install your lab. So once this installation is done, our lab is done, lab setup is done. So the next one is there is a system requirement. So for your VMware, so it is a basic requirement only. So there should be at least 2 CPU cores, and you should have at least 1 gig of RAM available, means 2 gigs of RAM, because 1 gig will be used by your Windows operating system, right? So yeah, so sorry, 4 gigs of RAM. So because some Windows machine uses more than that, right? So technician, how to check that? So just go to performance, and the memory should be at least 4. So most of the servers, or sorry, most of the laptops are already 8 gigs, which is more than enough. So yeah, only 1 gig we'll be using for our VM. Okay, so yeah, and 20 gigs of hard disk. Okay, so only these are the system requirement. And let's say you are having a company laptop, or you can't install this third-party software. There is some restriction in your machine, right? So in that case, try to open the AWS or GCP, which the link will be seeing in the next session. So try to open that, and if that is also not working, please lend a laptop or so, because without practice or practical, you can't proceed further with the course. Okay, so that's also a very important one. And yeah, so this is the question paper which I was talking about. So there is around 21 to 22 questions will be there or asked in your exam. And you see the first one itself is your network configuration. So there will be 2 servers in your exam. So each server will have its own set of questions. So the first server will be of the basics and all the remaining tools. And the second server will be fully, or mostly it is like advanced topics like your disk management and your containers, those kind of stuff, right? And the second server, you see, you should reset the root password without even logging in. So that is your challenge in this one. And if you don't know how to do this few like question 14 and question 1, you can't proceed further. So I'm not telling this to scare you. The thing is that all these questions are related to this one, or you should configure this. So that's how important the practical based exam is. So because in MCQ or anyhow, the criteria will be like at least 70%. You can easily score and you can clear the exam. But here you must know how to answer this one. So there is no choice. So you should practice and you should know the command. Without that, you can't proceed further. So that's the. Is there any other doubts? Okay, so this drive link will be shared anyhow, and yeah. So please do pay for the session, and then only it will be. So tomorrow also is a demo session. Okay, so then only you will have the Zoom link for the rest of the sessions, right? So is there any doubts? If not, we can wind up today's session. I don't see any doubts. Okay. So please make sure you download the VMware and the ISO if possible. Okay. So yeah. So that's it for the day then. Thanks all for joining. So let's see in tomorrow's session, guys. Thanks all. Bye bye.